Howdy, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we had a guest who didn't show up, so here we are. We're going to have Tyas join us for today for just a fun old conversation. When he's using some really fun tool that I've never seen before. He's camera switching from afar.
It's like magic.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
How does that work?
This is a board that is connected to our. Is that visible? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's connected to our switcher in the back, and it controls it. So I can cut between us.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah.
I would imagine that you use this. Where else would you use this? What circumstances call for this?
If I'm walking around the studio and I want to adjust a camera or something, but people are continually recording, I need to be able to move. So this lets me move. What else? I've had bathroom emergencies where I've actually had to run to a bathroom before, and I'm switching on the fly.
How do you know where to switch to?
What's that?
How do you know where to switch? If you're in the restroom.
I mean, I can hear you guys talking. I mean, it was on the other side, but I could hear people talking from where I was at.
Got it. How fun. So, what really grinds your gears, Tyas?
Netflix, apparently. Apparently, Netflix, it doesn't. Nothing bothers me.
Why not? Like, the fact that you're able to do that is kind of wild. I feel like most people aren't at that place, right?
I don't know. What pisses you off?
All right. So, the thing that I got right now. So, I'm going to tell you the story. We were talking about it a little bit right before we got on camera. I'm going to mute my phone while we're at it. So, I am going to, or we're going to Singapore and Hong Kong in March. And I wanted to leave Saturday because we lose a day in our travel overseas. So we travel all day Saturday, and it's like 17 hours, and so we lose a full day on Monday. And whenever I'm going back through Expedia, it seems that I clicked Sunday instead of Saturday. Oopsies, right? Easy mistake. Even though I click Saturday and it like feeds you all the different like options throughout the week, and so whatever, I accidentally click Sunday. Either way, so it's the same time. Confirmed with a friend because they're going as well, and so it's a group of 4 of us. We're all gonna go, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, like that sounds good. Like that's the same day we were leaving." I have a travel agent who's looking at all the date, like the activities, the excursions, whatever the fuck we're gonna do. So I go ahead and look yesterday to confirm the trip with the travel agent, and then I noticed that we're leaving on Sunday, and so we only have one full day in Singapore. So I end up calling Expedia, and they're like, "All right, you can cancel. It's $200 per ticket to cancel." So okay, well we purchased like the premium insurance for the trip just in case anything like this happened. Okay, well you can cancel, but then you have to file a claim with the insurance.
Oh, so the insurance isn't even through the trip. It's through an external company.
Yes.
Nasty.
And then we're like, well, let's say we don't know what the insurance company is going to do. I don't really want to cancel now. So what happens if we just like move the day back, right? There's another flight, leaves the same time. It's 24 hours, exactly 24 hours before. Same flight. You can do that. It's $200 a ticket. Okay, so it's $400 either way. Either I cancel, it's $400, or I switch the day and it's $400. So I call the insurance company and I ask them. It's like, well, we can't give you any information until you cancel the flight through Expedia, and then we can make a determination on whether we can refund you the full amount or the full amount plus the $400, plus or less the $400 for the change or the cancellation.
I can guess where I mean, they're not going to cover more than they could get away with.
100%. So they're like, I finally got, I was like, I just need to, like, are you guys willing to do this or not? We're like, well, sir, we can't tell you that. That's just not like something, we have to cancel it, and then we can make a determination whether we can do this or not. So you fucking dick. Like, I'm just trying to make a decision whether I should just cancel the flight and rebook because now the flights are also cheaper. Or do I just pay for the fucking $400 and move it a day? Like, why does it have to be such like a workaround? And I don't really understand why people are. I don't. It seems like we create a system just to like, well, you fucked up, so eat shit.
Yeah, so you're mad at the bureaucracy of it all.
Yeah, I want to talk to somebody and be like, hey, can I do this or not?
Yeah.
No? Great, then I'll just pay the $400. I don't want to like, well, you have to do this. Like, I don't like rules, I think.
It's amazing how bad travel websites are. And I feel like the only reason they've gotten away with it is nobody's made a good travel website. Like the user interface, the whole thing is just terrible. And you'd think with the amount of money they have that they'd fix it. There's definitely an opportunity there for like a hostile takeover based off of like better technology.
It is a terrible website. Like there's nothing, like it's overstimulated. It's not very clear. Like it is like it's clear, but not really. You have to really look for, okay, where's the multi-city? And like it's a small little button. It's like you could have made this like 3 options so much easier. But for whatever reason, you chose to make this like fucking terrible. And then, well, you have to click this. You know, if you want to get the pricing, you have to click the website, and then it takes you to an external website. And you're like, what? Isn't that your whole job? Is to like consolidate all this information? What the fuck?
The libertarian in me blames the government. I'm going to guess that they're required to like have so many things in place that I wonder if they're like regulated so much that they've got to do it. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out.
I mean, it's very possible. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know how the government would be involved with my travel.
The FAA.
What tell me some stuff about the FAA.
I don't know a lot about the FAA. I just know that there's a lot of like hoops for these companies to jump through to get like the licensing and the permitting and all that stuff. Like I don't understand why they need to know my date of birth. I have no idea, but they clearly do because all of them ask for it. So they need to know that. Why?
Huh.
It's got to be a government thing. I couldn't imagine any other reason.
What the fuck does the government want with? Like, what data mapping are they doing?
They know my date of birth. They know your date of birth.
Yeah, they have my face. They know exactly.
Can you opt out of that?
I think I heard you can, but I haven't tried, and I have Clear. So
how much is that?
It's like only $150 a year. Like I think it's super cheap if you're flying like moderately regularly, which we used to. It's 100% worth it.
Yeah, I don't have any of the. What's the other one? TSA PreCheck.
I have that as well.
You have both?
Yeah.
Why?
It's dumb. so because at the time I was traveling more, so then you sign up for TSA Pre, and then so you go to already an individual line, and then if you go with the Clear, then they scan your eyeballs and they take you to the very front of the TSA line. So now or the TSA pre-line. So now I just don't have to take off my shoes. I'm the first person in line. Versus I think if I just had Clear, then they would take me to the regular line. I would have to take off my shoes and do the whole thing. And blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so once again, I blame the government. So they create a program that I think is unconstitutional. I think TSA violates your Fourth Amendment rights.
How so?
Well, because you're not allowed to be searched without probable cause, right? So, like, they're searching you, and they have no cause to search you, and like they've never stopped a terrorist. Tons of them have been locked up for this. So, anyways, the point is that the government has created now a line that nobody wants to be in. Everybody hates. They don't want to take off their shoes. So the government causes the problem, and then companies like Clear or the government themselves create a solution to the problem that they created. Like the solution to the problem is don't do the thing that you're doing to begin with. And their solution, anyways, I'm just pissed.
So they can find a way to just profit. Like, let's create the problem. That's like, you can't really combat the problem in any sort of way. Like, you're guaranteed to conflict the problem. If you want to fly, like, this is part of the business of flying.
It didn't used to be.
How was it like? What was it like flying?
Grandpa, what was it like? Well, we got there and we walked through 4 feet of snow both ways to the tarmac.
It was a ladder you climbed yourself up.
You just board a plane, and they also had smoking sections, which was pretty. Could you imagine that on a plane?
It's a smoking plane.
It's gross. It's gross.
Was it? I mean, you could just walk up to the. Like, what was the ticketing experience like? I mean, I've never traveled, obviously, before that, like this time.
Yeah, I mean, there were security checks, but it wasn't like what it is now. Like that, what came now was from 9/11.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I am 28.
Okay, So I got some years on you, but not a lot of years.
Not a lot of years. But I mean, I haven't been traveling there like for the last 28 years.
Yeah. Like if there's security measures, it should be done by airline. Like the airline should be responsible for making you have a safe trip. So if you booked with United or then you book with like American, whatever, and you can go to one that you like more because it offers free luggage and less security, you know, and then you know what you're opting for there. But it shouldn't be required by the government. That bothers me. But again, I'm playing the very strong libertarian, almost anarchist card here.
I like the idea of anarchy. I just want to see it like happen. I want to see like I want to see like a science experiment of how it would work.
We did it.
We did?
Well, we kind of did. Like the U.S. was pretty much in anarchy up until like 1913. Like we had government in place, but the government's like the Constitution was basically a restriction of the government. It was a government can't get involved, right? And in that process, in that time frame before the government did get involved, we were the most prosperous, admired place on the planet. And it wasn't until like 1913 we start charging income tax, and then we go, hey, maybe you don't get to own your own income, and now we're going to tax your property, and we're going to tax your everything, sales, and everything. And then it became the largest government in the world, and like now you can just watch our freedoms get corroded. And now now it's the lesser of two evils is all we vote for, and we just hope that the government doesn't get corrupt, but both sides are, I'm sure.
Both sides definitely are. There's no way that they're not, right? I mean, it seems like it happened in a relative. I know it's like 1913 to now is over 100 years, and I get that. But it's also like not that long, I think, right? Like, what fucking happened in such a short amount of time that people were just like, yeah, no, like let's like really take advantage of what's going on here when this thing is ultimately meant. This thing, I think, has become the thing that we were trying to get away from originally.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like and you can look at Argentina, who is like drastically slashing government, and their inflation rate has dropped. Like they're turning it around, and the only thing that I think the worst thing they had was like a decrease in jobs, but that's because all the jobs were people working for the government.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're what's the guy's name? I saw a podcast with him.
Milell?
Sure, I believe you.
Things
we're gonna be going there in December, and I hope to.
You're traveling a lot.
Yeah.
This PreCheck thing was worth it.
Oh, hell yeah, it is. It's the clear. I feel a little bit weird about giving my eyeballs away, but at the same time, they probably already have them anyway, so what the fuck. The fact that I say that is also not great. But I'll be there in December, and I hope to find like somebody to talk to who's like, so how was it in government, and how is it now?
What do you got travel-wise here?
So right now, I will be leaving in like all of it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you got quite the vacation trip planned.
That's not necessarily, that one's not vacation. The next one will be vacation. So in about a week and a half or so. So one of our guests, Derek, within Vigor Medical, you guys go check him out. He's an awesome episode. I will be working with them at their headquarters to both record a bunch of content and then look at how coaching is going to work between IE Health and Vigor Medical.
They're not in Argentina.
They're not in Argentina. That's the most immediate trip. When I meant all of it, I mean, like, do you want me to go through everything? And then the second.
Where are they based out of?
They are based out of Washington.
Okay.
So we'll be in Washington, the Tri-Cities, here in a couple weeks, and then after that we go pretty much the next month immediately to. There's a bio expo in Florida that I'm considering going to. I haven't decided just yet if I'm going to make that trip or not. So we have that, and then we have the Hong Kong Singapore trip for funsies. I want to eat at a Michelin star restaurant. I never have. I just really want to. So that's the reason for that. And then that one's definitely like more of like a true vacation. And then between then and December, I don't have any other plans currently. December we'll be going to Argentina and then Chile. And then I think in order like to combine that, I want to kind of go to Antarctica, like. That'd be cool. Like do a cruise to Antarctica or go to Brazil or like while we're down there already. That one's going to be paid for. That's an international seminar for the business school.
Oh, wow.
So that one's like a case study. We're going to go find some businesses in town.
In Antarctica?
That one, not not in Antarctica, but in Chile and Argentina.
Oh.
So we'll be in those two places, and then we'll work with both nonprofits and for-profit companies. We'll be giving case studies, not really case studies, but like their true business, and then be like, "Hey, we need help. How can you help us?" And then so depending on the business, this last cohort was working on an e-commerce marketing company, and so they took them from, I think they went to Sweden and somewhere else, Quebec or something like that. They helped him go international with their brand. One of the guys that is in part of that cohort is a good friend of mine, and also the Shutter Store, or the Shutterstore.com, the sponsor of the podcast. Go check them out. So he was part of that group, and so he's part of he does international business, and he just like helped like pivot them out. So that's kind of the idea, like give like a real practice with working international business.
Has this school that you joined up with, has it been changing your life? And I'm assuming it has, but like, is it one of those things where you being involved in it changes your trajectory, or is it more of a conscious, your trajectory was changed intentionally by it? Like, how do that might not make sense.
I'm gonna see if I understood correctly. So, is it that the fact that I'm in the program, the direct reason, like the things that I'm learning, changing me and making me into a better human? Is it the program itself, or is it because of the program and its extracurriculars? Do I like see success from that? Is that kind of what?
I guess what I'm trying to ask is this program that you're on part of the roadmap that you've created for your life, or did you sign up for this and it's now changed the trajectory of your life based off of its roadmap? So, like, is this based off of your plan, or has your plan changed based off of the fact that you made this pit stop?
Yeah, good question. I would say this is definitely more my plan, right? I knew I wanted to continue to grow in business, and so I assume with all things that I don't know everything, and I shouldn't expect myself to, and so I want to find help. And so whether it's like finding a coach or finding a school to ultimately like teach me maybe some things that I don't know, and I realize that it's an expensive program, but along the way, like there's gonna be nuggets, and so I'm paying a fuck ton of money for nuggets probably, like, and so like that's kind of like, is that really a good spending of your cash? But it was also like I'm new to town, so I needed to find a community of people, and I wanted to find a community of people that also had this like desire to be good in business. And a lot of people are there not just because they want to be good in business, but because they just want the next step, right? They just want to get like, they want to go from director to senior director or whatever the fuck they're doing, just climb the corporate ladder. And then you have other people there that are truly like, no, I want to learn. Like I want to like make myself into a better human being, and those are the people that I wanted to find. And so that was the rationale. But because of it, like it was maybe good timing. Like so many opportunities have come out. Like we met right about that time, and maybe it was like within inside my head. It's just like I feel like I'm making more progress, and so I'm more willing to kind of like step out and branch out. Because I'm like for a moment there, I was like I fucking hated everything.
So it's not just so that you can explain what EBITDA is or any of that stuff.
No, not at all. I mean, fuck it. But like, whoever is gonna use it, like, they're gonna talk to someone like outside. Like, it might be like beneficial between like somebody that I'm talking with. Like yesterday, like a couple days ago, we were talking about accrual counting. No one ever talks about accrual counting. It just
what is accrual count?
You just account for it before it happens. So like, if I know that
planning is what we've had a term for.
Yeah, planning. So accrual accounting versus, which is like very corporate style accounting, versus cash accounting, which is small business accounting. So you only record it on your books when it gets charged, versus accrual is I know that I have rent for the next 6 months, and so in my account I've already discounted that, and every single month that it happens, I just pay myself back. I just so that it balances on the balance sheet.
So like if you have like a net 30 or something, like you're accounting for the net 30 even though you haven't accepted the cash in, right?
Even though I haven't accepted for the cash.
So like the client hasn't, or a net 90, right? So somebody owes me money in 90 days. You would account for that money that is owed to you in 90 days, even though you have not yet received said money.
Debt is different, and so it's only on like expenditure mainly. Okay. So debt, I would say, and maybe I'm wrong, and somebody can please correct me, but from what I understand, I wouldn't count that until they pay, but expenses along the way, I'm constantly accruing for. I don't think that would be considered an expense, but like a accounts receivable. That'd be in a different line item.
Interesting. I wonder if there's value in thinking about your own personal goals in that way. So rather, like, I think there's certain people that just go, oh, I'm going to win no matter what, and they live in this. All the UFC fighters I've ever met, they've like pictured the win so many times that like now they're just a player that's waiting to get up to that point in life. And I wonder if that is good, or if that's a hell of a way to get the rug pulled out from under you when expectations don't match the reality that you've decided in your mind is how the future is going to be.
I would imagine that it creates the opportunity for very high highs and very low lows. And so if you aren't in a place that can handle those things, you can have like either like the overspending, like you won the fight, you got the purse, and you're making $5 million or whatever you made off of that fight, and like now you're gonna go blow it, and you like that's not a really good thing either. Or you lose it, and that you were relying on that, and now you just have nothing, and you don't like, well, who am I? Which I think. Part of me kind of appreciates the who am I question whenever that does happen. It's like, do I really want to continue doing this? Like, this is a step. But at the same time, it can get to a really, really dark place.
Yeah. Agreed. Just curious. Are you a goal guy?
I am a goal guy, but I'm not like your traditional goal guy. I don't write shit down.
Oh, it's all upstairs?
Well, I shouldn't say that. So I write stuff down. I just don't review it.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the year, and I haven't done this yet, and it's on my list of things to do. So that's why I'm like, I don't write it down, because immediately I haven't written it down. But for the last several years, I write them down in a journal, and I will occasionally go back and look at them, if ever. Like last year, didn't look at any of my goals all year until the final, like the step of the next year. So whenever I'm writing my next set of goals down, I'll look back on, okay, this is kind of what I had set, which ones did I accomplish, mark them off, and then now I create my new set of goals. And so my reason is like, I don't want to have this like constant pressure, like that I have to look, and like if I fail, then I'm just like constantly sad that I'm failing, or super excited that I'm winning. It's like I just have these intentions for this year, and if these things happen, then great. And if not, then like, you know, did I do my best? Then all right, like let's create a new goal, create a more realistic.
But do you ever forget like your goals?
No.
Really, they're so okay.
No.
What's this year's goals, or are you the guy that doesn't say what your goals are?
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah. There's a whole philosophy where there's a lot of people think that by saying your goal, you automatically get like the dopamine hit from achieving your goal, and so saying your goal is the wrong move to do. Derek Sivers has a good thing on that. Apparently, that's like an Eastern philosophy thing. Western philosophy is you say your goal so that everybody holds you accountable to it. Eastern philosophy is the opposite.
I wouldn't say that I am almost either party. Like, I don't know. I'll talk about my goals. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, either I don't get it. I think I don't get a dopamine hit when I accomplish the goal anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
It's really sad. It's not necessarily the ideal situation. Which is I don't know if I have to work on it or what, like where eventually that comes from. But like nothing's ever enough, and I'm never successful enough, which is kind of a really, really hard thing to like, I guess, like constantly have inside your head sometimes. But I mean, it's also like if you have bigger goals and you're not in like the envisionment, like, yes, I went to Worlds and yes, I got gold medals, but like as soon as I was given my like medal and I was just like, you know, bend down, it's a whole thing, whatever, you go to the ceremony, win best lifters, like team wins, like everybody, like it's a huge thing. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to take this off immediately as soon as I get off this podium. Do it for the pictures, get off, and like then I'm like, we're back at it. Like this game train doesn't end. So like,
it does though.
It does.
Like in a very permanent way, it does. And so like if you play the game like it never ends, that seems like a setup for failure. But also if you don't take the time to enjoy the moment, like that also seems like a setup for failure. Are you getting all that you need from these little vacations, or?
I think that I get satisfaction out of them. I don't necessarily know that I interpret them to be like a complete, like, satisfactory existence, if that makes sense.
Okay, so forgive me for just diving into philosophy, but
Let's do it.
So what would make you satisfied? Like what is How do you win at life?
I like these conversations. This is kind of what I was hoping for, to be honest with you. And we have these conversations often, so I appreciate it.
This is pretty much what we do when we work out.
Yeah.
I walk in and you're like, what is life?
How do you solve homelessness? Yeah, it's fun. So
you have a set of 5 and all the world's problems.
solve them both. Okay, so we'll ask the question one more. How do you succeed at life, right?
Like under your terms, right? So if the medal isn't, for a lot of people, I think the medal is it, right? Yeah. Now, for a lot of people, they also don't know what the medal is, right? So they'll go like, I want to be rich. What does that mean? Because they don't define the terms, and then they hit it. They actually nail it. They like way out of the park, but they don't know what they've never defined the terms. So now they're comparing themselves to the next guy, and they never win, right? So that's like a real quick path for failure. I want to be popular is another one that falls into that. But it sounds like you had defined terms. Okay, like we're going for this medal. We're working toward this meet. But that wasn't success. I mean, maybe it was success, but it sounded by your description that it was short-lived. So either let me know if that was your success, or what does success mean? Like, what does that look like for you?
I think that in that context, making it to Team USA itself was the win, and I was like super excited. But even like I got accepted and whatever, I started training for it, and I went to nationals and I won nationals, and it was like, okay, like you get your stamp, like you're going to go to Team USA, and that was fucking cool. But what like really like getting the medals on stage didn't necessarily do it for me. It was the fact that I worked hard enough to be able to be accepted as like, maybe as shitty as that sounds, to be accepted as strong enough into this like existence community. Like, you're one of the best in the world. Fuck, dude, I've been working for how long to finally get here? Like if whatever happens after this is just like a cherry on the top, but it becomes so much like a cherry on, like not really even a cherry anymore. Like, I'm not even eating the cherry because I already enjoyed the sundae. Like, I'm done. Like, everything else is just, it's just what I do now. Like, because at that point I might as well, as long as I write programming well enough, I'm not like a complete cunt. Like, then I'll continue to just excel. I'll continue to get better, and so I'm just going to continue to rank up and whatever. So in that context, it was like seeing my uncle fly to Hungary to see me compete for the first time. Because I remember when I was a kid, he was like, you're never going to be successful in sports. Like, why even try? Like, you're just not built for it. And it's like, if you look at your arm, your pennation angles just aren't good. And I was like, what? How do you even fucking know that, bro?
What does that even mean?
It's the way that your muscle is formed. And so he talked about that. And he also talked about my tendon insertions, which will determine like how much force you can produce.
What was your uncle?
He's a physical therapist.
Oh, okay.
And I think he was just getting out of school, so he like learned all this shit, and he was like, "No," right? I was like, "All right, dude, well, whatever the fuck." And so, part of me was just like, you know what, motherfucker, like, watch, like you don't even know, like I'm 12 years old, like you don't know shit. And so, like, seeing him show up, fly all the way to Hungary and watch me compete was like I fucking made it, bitch. Even though you're not gonna say anything about it, like I made it. And so now success, I think, more looks like, I don't know. I think I'm pretty happy and I'm pretty successful, I would say, in my own right. Now I'm not done, but like I can sit here with you on a Wednesday night and just have a conversation. I don't know, and like I'm sober, and that's a huge win. Like, I have caffeine and I love caffeine. That's cool. I have a non-alcoholic beer, which I absolutely love. But just being able to have like good community, I think, is probably like the biggest win for me. So everything else is just kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, there's no figuring it out. Like, there's gonna be 10 different businesses that I maybe work with, but like, they're all gonna, either they work or they don't. Like, either I make a lot of money or I don't. Like, fuck it. But like, the people that I get to hang out with, like that, I don't know, there's something about it that just like fucking, it just like, it really does something for me.
Isn't that weird? The community thing matters to everybody. When they ask people on their deathbed, you know, like, what would you have changed in your life? It's always like, I wish I had spent more time with my loved ones. They're never like, I wish I had won this, or I wish I had done this. But I'm curious, when you're talking about like getting on Team USA or whatnot, like, was it the title or was it the rank that mattered? What was the achievement?
Work. It was the work. Like, I spent day and night, everything. I secluded myself. I didn't, like, friends would go out to go play Frisbee, and I'd be like, I can't go because I need to deadlift tomorrow. Like, everything, it was just such a focus, such a discipline on one thing for so long that nothing else mattered. And I probably lost friends. I didn't go out as much. I didn't, like, I still drank, but like it was like, okay, we're coming close to competition time. We're not doing shit. And so like there is also like, and yes, and then later on, after I like, so there's I think before qualifying and a post qualifying for Team USA, and like representing the teams. Before it was again, like day and night, constantly, all the time. Didn't matter what it was. I was the weird kid in high school that was like, why are you eating like just celery and carrots for like all of your meals? Because I weigh in on Saturday and I'm 5 pounds over. Like, I'm gonna do anything. I'm not gonna do salt on my food. It's nothing. Like, my parents are like, this fucking kid is weird. But I loved the fact that I was just so deep into something. And then to see that the fact that there was a fruit out of that is like, no, true honest work does get you somewhere. That to me was just like oh fuck yeah, man. Like cause I feel like in sometimes in school or whatever, like and a lot of times in life, like you do good honest work and it doesn't work out. It just doesn't. And so, but if you go to the gym and you do good honest work, it's going to pay you out every single time.
Yeah, but it sounds like what you're describing is you crossed the finish line but there wasn't a finish line. And so I'm not sure how that equals success if you ran the race and then the moment you cross the tape, you just keep running. Like, what is...
It's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of... But then what do you do? You're going to stop and then do what?
I mean, I don't have the answers. If I did, I probably wouldn't be asking these questions. But like, I think that there's two roads. There's two types of psychology you can have here. I think there's the kind we're born with, which is what I think almost all humanity has, where we get the new iPhone and we go, gosh, I wish it was a better iPhone, even though it's magic, right? So I think there's the I'm never satisfied aspect of life. Yeah. And then I think there's the tranquil, I'm at peace, I'm grateful for what I have, which is harder, but it's written about in almost every philosophy. And I think we've talked about this while working out, where it's like, do you choose to have a happy life or a significant life? And I think you can be very happy, but the moment you're very happy, you don't have goals because you don't need to improve your life. You're happy with what you have. And so I don't know if you progress that way. So I don't have the answer.
I like things to be in threes. I love threes. And so just the number 3, but either way. So I like the two opposing parties here. You can both be happy and not have goals, and be miserable but constantly achieving and pushing new goals. Right? I think it's kind of like how I would sum those up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's how I laid it out.
And so I want to have a center individual that maybe experiences happiness and the frustrations, but is also setting goals and then not achieving them. So like maybe day to day, I'm not achieving all my goals, right? Because that's not like, I could torture myself and like achieve everything that I wanted to do on my list, but my lists are fucking insane sometimes. So I'm sitting there like, shit, I got to do all this shit. If I get half of them done, like that's like, fuck yeah, like I did pretty good today. And then it like the 1% rule, like it'll compound 1% a day or whatever the fuck like that, which I don't even know that I really like that. It's just like a way to build habits or stack habits or whatever. I don't really attribute my thinking to that either. But there's maybe, and I don't know, maybe there's a better way to define that third opportunity, or that third way of thinking. I don't know if you have any like thoughts on what that third like perspective would be. Or
Wait, did you give me a third perspective, or you're just looking for a third?
I'm trying to formulate a third. I think, and so my example was like you have parts of both, right? You have somebody who is occasionally happy, but also occasionally tormented, right? Because they have goals, but they don't always achieve those goals, and they're sometimes happy with that. Like they're not achieving their goals because they're spending time with family. But then on Saturday, he's like fuck, or she's like fuck. I didn't achieve all my goals today. I'm fucking like I'm so dead that I'm so sad about what's going on. I'm frustrated what's going on because I wanted to work out at 9 a.m. and I couldn't because of my kids, or I couldn't because of XYZ, which is kind of an excuse. But they also don't achieve goals, right? They have both things. I don't know if I summarized that well.
I've had other people give me their perspective on this. One of which came from a friend of mine named Anna Rose. Some of those photos you were looking at earlier was her.
Nice.
And she said that being the goal-oriented, like go out and get it person, is like one panel of life, and then the at peace, tranquil, grateful is another one, and they're two frames that are stacked on top of each other. You kind of like a magic eye. You get to decide at what point do you want to focus, but they're both in reality. I thought that was kind of a neat way of putting it. And then I heard somebody on a podcast, because I listened to an absurd amount of podcasts, I don't know who said this, and I don't remember what show it was on, but he described the problem almost exactly as how we're talking about the problem. But then he said you can't have tranquility and gratitude without going through something to achieve that point, to get to that point, right? So he's like, that point doesn't exist without the other. And he goes, and once you're grateful and tranquil and all that stuff, you get a better perspective, and you end up finding new opportunities, new possibilities, new problems to solve. And he goes, and that doesn't happen without you feeling that level of peace. So he said it's more like a electromagnetism. You can't have one without the other. Like they feed into each other. And so while it feels like you're in one of the two states of being, you're always bouncing back between the two states of being. Which I don't think is true, because I think there are people that are like legit suffering their whole life. I think like Elon Musk is like
suffering.
Yeah, Steve Jobs was suffering, Picasso type thing.
But I'm sure that he enjoys his time whenever he's like talking with Joe Rogan and just shooting the shit. Like there's probably like a genuine enjoyment there, like a peace or a tranquility. He's away from everything. So like I think it's just instead of like days or months or weeks of feeling that tranquility or that calm, it's just moments, right? It's just in that moment he has the opportunity to just like escape a little bit, and then he leaves that room, and maybe from what I understand, they hang out for a little bit, right? So they spend time together, they hang out, and then it's like, all right, back to it, and like, yeah, and then yeah.
Do you think Elon Musk ever, being the richest man alive on paper, do you think he ever is like, gosh, I'm so grateful that I'm rich? Do you think that?
No.
I don't think so either.
He doesn't think about it.
Yeah, I don't think that's even on his radar, right?
Yeah.
And I think that he's probably constantly solving problems because there's a little moment of dopamine when he solves a problem that's really, really hard, that he gets like this moment of like, but unfortunately, the fact that he's so good at that has just led him to being the guy that they're going to bring another problem to. I don't know if there's an escape in his situation. Like, I think he just has to go through life solving all these problems. And it makes him a great CEO. I've heard that all he does in his business is he talks to like the staff directly, and he finds out what the biggest problem is. He flies there, works with them for a week or whatever, gets the problem finished, goes and talks to the next team. And they say it makes him an incredible leader. But that sounds like a nightmare. That sounds like although it also sounds like kind of what your business is.
That's kind of a little bit, a lot of all of this stuff. And I don't know. I would imagine that in the moment of him like getting to talk with the people that he's working with, he's doing a collaborative environment. Maybe apparently he yells at people, and he's not always necessarily the most fun person to work with. But he like that is peace. Like if to us we perceive it as like chaos. Inside of him, that could just be like his moment of like peace, right? So we perceive those feelings differently, and so his level of peace is maybe like, you know, it's all the way up here where I would be like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on with my life? But he's like, that's good for me, like that's all I need.
Ooh, man, would you ever want to live like that?
He doesn't perceive it any differently.
Yeah, but
so then yeah.
But you're getting to perceive it slightly differently. Would you ever want to be in that, knowing that you have the vision of seeing it from the outside?
Good question. Good perspective. I mean, I kind of do that now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not running as big companies as he is, but like I have a lot of things going on, and so, and for me, it's a moment. Like, if I can get a moment of a day And that's because I'll play video games for like 3 hours sometimes, 4 hours. So like I'll get into a game like I'm playing Harry Potter right now, and I'll stay up until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I have to wake up at 6 o'clock, and I'm like, fuck, well this sucks. But then like tough shit, Ben. Like you did this to yourself, and then I'm back to back with meetings from 8 to 9. Like I have another podcast from 9:30 to 12 tonight, and then I'll do it all over again tomorrow, and it's every single day, nonstop, Sunday through Sunday, and so if I could like, yeah, like that's fine. Like what else am I gonna do? I get to spend time with my loved ones. I get to spend time with friends. Like whether the money comes or not, like what the fuck does it matter?
I mean, what else are you gonna do? Is the answer is like anything. You know, like
I'm studying Mandarin. I work out. I hang out with friends. I hang out with my significant other. I work on several businesses. I go out to eat. Like it's a very full life, and it can be exhausting. Like Jess is like, this is like, how are you still going? Like how are you not tired? And I'm like, I don't know. It's midnight, and I just can't go to bed. So then I guess I'm just gonna go up and like write programming for a couple hours, or I'll maybe like look something up, or like read about like give me weird, like ask ChatGPT to give me like weird philosophical questions that I can like play with inside my head. Like why the fuck not? What else? What else is there?
I mean, for some, there's a lot more.
Like what?
It's not what I prescribe to, but you know, for some people, this life isn't enough, and they're waiting for the afterlife to bring them eternal whatever. You know, whether it's a planet or peace or walking on clouds. I don't know.
I want to waste my time waiting for that to happen.
I mean,
Possibly?
a lot of people, this life is all dedicated to the next one. You know, if people didn't legitimately believe that, they probably wouldn't fly planes into the World Trade Center. You know, like those guys were true believers.
Those guys are definitely true believers. What happens when we die?
You or me?
What happens when you die?
I will decompose, and I'm okay with that. What happens when I die? You know the Keanu Reeves quote on this?
No.
Goes, I don't know what happens when you die, but I know the people that love you are going to miss you. And that's what he said that on national television, and everyone's like, he's the best, and I was like, that you dodged the question. Yeah,
That is a dodge.
yeah, I think
that is a dodge.
I think it's either
that sound kind of
I think it's either darkness. I think it's likely darkness, which is fine. I had that before I was born, so totally cool with that. Which is also that's the Mark Twain answer to it.
Really, that's a good.
Yeah, Mark Twain's answer was like, I'm not afraid of death because it'll be just like what it was before I was born, and that didn't bother me at all. So there's that answer, and I think that's the likely answer. And then there's the unlikely answer of reincarnation or rebooting the program or something like that. You know, a reboot of some level. But I think that's less likely because if we are software or spirits or whatever, there's no real need to reboot the system. Like they might do it. They might run the whole thing again, but if they do run the whole thing again, I won't remember any of it. Yeah. And so, because if I had a previous life, I certainly don't remember it. And it seems to me more likely that the people that do are kind of crazy than that they're right. What do you think happens when you die?
So I like to ask two different questions. What do you think happens when we die, and then what do you hope happens when we die? And so, to follow up before I answer, what do you hope happens when you die? This is what you think, but what
did
do
you
hope?
just dodge my Keanu Reeves thing?
Oh, I'm definitely gonna tell you. I just have to ask both questions.
What do I hope happens?
Yeah. What do you already gave us what you think happens, the likely possibilities. What do you hope happens?
Yeah. It would be really cool. It would be really cool if you just took off the VR headset. Like that'd be nice. If
Fucking wild.
Wouldn't that be great? If it's like you see the light at the end of the tunnel and all the things that people describe, and then all of a sudden it's like game over. Remove your headset. Insert a quarter for a new life. You know, like
that'd be fucking sick.
It'd be cool.
Like, wow, that's a really good game, dude.
Yeah.
I like that.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. That'd be really fun. So what do I think happens? I think it's likely. So I don't want to avoid, but I do have to preface with that. I haven't really given this a hell of a lot of thought because I don't think that I know anything. And so I would imagine what happens most likely is it probably just goes dark. That seems the most likely. Because I was quote unquote dead before I was born. I wasn't existent. And so I would consider that a form of death. Maybe I don't know if that's far fetched, and I really like Mark Twain's quote, even though like that's my first time I hear it, and I don't want to like hold on to that too aggressively, just 'cause I like it. But I would imagine that is probably most likely. Now, what I hope happens is that I don't know. I think it's like the Buddhist way of thinking, where you like do this all over again. I kind of hope that you like do this all over again. You become a human, or something else. Sure, I don't really know that like I care about so much about that detail. But ideally, I would imagine like I get to play different roles. Like I see like a video game where like I went through life like playing the video game, and I was Ben for that time, and like I made choices, right? Kind of like Fable, or I don't know, Skyrim's like that, or the Harry Potter game, like an RPG. So you select your character, you do the whole thing, and so kind of similar to you. And then it happens all over again. That would be fucking cool. I don't get to choose because like how can you really like choose all of those details? I feel like there's too many. So I kind of wanted to be auto generated because I'm lazy, and then it just like happened again.
Yeah. Look, here's the thing. If it aligns up with what we both think is going to happen, while that sounds like dark, it literally sounds dark. It also means that we got one shot at this, and it means that every moment along that singular trajectory is the only moment that matters. And so one of the things that I've always thought that like those that are religious and say, oh, St. Peter's going to meet you at the pearly gates and all this stuff, it's just like, well, then what does this matter for? Like if we're just lining up for the big show, then like this show doesn't matter at all, and we can discredit all of it. Especially if all the bad stuff we've done has been forgiven because we believed in a character, right? Like that's like it does. I mean, it's just like it wipes clean. All you got to do is
Gotta apologize.
Yeah,
Say your 3 Hail Marys.
Yeah, you do the thing that the religion says you've got to do, and suddenly you're. So then, what does this matter at all? Like at that point, there's no problem in saying, I'm going to do bad stuff right now, or I'm going to do good stuff right now, because none of this matters at all. On the flip side, if there is none of the afterlife stuff, then all of this matters. This is the only thing that matters. And so, like, being a loving, good, kind person suddenly actually has value when you don't have the heaven-hell aspect of, like, be good so that Santa brings you gifts. Like, no. Don't do it for the gifts. Like, do it because there's nothing else to do it for but the good. You know? I think there's something beautiful in the nihilism of that. Even though the nihilism is generally like a bad thing, as most people think of it as bad, but like optimistic nihilism, it's a real thing.
That's beautifully said. I don't think I should have said that. Like that's gorgeous. It makes me like it makes me feel warm inside, because otherwise, like, it's a safety net, and it's a really easy way to say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna kill that person because I can just like go. You can literally go to the person next, like the priest, and just say, hey, I did this and I'm sorry. I'm like, it's all right, buddy, it happens, and you do it again and again and again and again, and you just keep on getting forgiven again and again and again. I like that this is the one opportunity that we have. I like that idea. It makes me feel. It makes me. I feel like I would cherish my moments more, rather than just like, oh, this is just bland and boring, and I'm waiting for that thing like that may or may not happen. Versus like, I know that this is happening, so I might as well appreciate it while I'm here. And then if something else happens after, then wonderful. Hopefully I treated people well enough that happens, or it goes black and it didn't matter, and I lived a good life, and that's what I care about.
Yeah, the ancient Greeks and ancient Romans used to say memento mori, which was translated meant remember you're going to die. And so they would like think about death all the time. But I don't think it was to be dark. I think it was to be light. I think it was to be like, okay, we might die tomorrow. Let's remember that right now so that we're not missing the opportunity of today. I think that's a good way to live, because the trajectory of what could or would be ideal after we die is completely a dice roll, and it's probably a lot more than six-sided. So you might as well play the cards thinking that like the house is going to win. And so have fun with the game, because you're going to walk out of here with none of it.
How do you feel like it's gone so far for you? How do you think you've played your cards so far?
Badly is the truth. Yeah.
How do you like, how does that internalize? What does that mean to you? How does that work? Like, knowing that, like saying that out loud, is that like just a recognition of? Is it like a, oh shit, I'm down on myself? Like, how do you interpret the fact that you feel you have played it badly?
Like, are you asking me like what's the realization of playing it badly, or are you asking me like what physical actions did I do that I shouldn't have played that way?
I'm thinking more like the interpretation of the experience thus far, and then like more like it's the realization, maybe, I think. But very like what does it feel like to say that out loud? Like, does it make you feel a certain way, or is it just like a analytical recognition of, I did not play this very well? Or did you have to like come to a place and be like, oh shit, I really haven't done this very well, and now I need a pivot?
So you know those people that go like, no regrets, no worries, right? Like, that's stupid to me. Like I whenever I meet people like that, I'm like, have you learned nothing like along this journey? Because I feel like the whole thing about regret is like, could have done that better, you know, like that's the whole like. So I feel like whenever somebody is in that sense of like, I nailed it, couldn't have done it better, I'm just like, what are you doing on this journey? Like, what is your path? Because like that's a weird way to live. Like, you were flawless? Cool.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, that's cool. And also probably wrong, right? And so they say comparison's the thief of joy. And in many ways it is, but as you get older, you get to see how other people have lived. And one thing that I've noticed, I grew up and I tried to be a generalist. I tried to like learn a little bit about a lot of things. And looking back, I wouldn't have done that. I would have specialized. I would have been like, I'm going to be the very best at this. And you can really do that when you're a kid. Like, if you start doing something at 4 and you don't stop until you're 30, you're going to be one of the best in the world at it. If you're truly dedicated to it. If you start at 40, you're done, man. You're never going to get there. You got too many responsibilities in life.
You think so?
I am wrong, because I'm wrong about everything. But yeah, I think so. So I think the right play is be a specialist at the beginning of life, create value around the fact that you are so good at one thing. You know, so if you're a chess master, if you're Magnus Carlsen, who's the best chess player in the world, right? Now that guy can diversify like crazy because his name carries him through everything else. Because they know he's an exceptional human being. If you're a generalist, you're not exceptional at anything. You're capable. You're probably more capable than Magnus Carlsen, who probably can't jump a car because he's always been worried about chess his whole life. That's all he thinks about. Yeah, he gets flat, he's screwed. But I think that I would, and maybe had I specialized, maybe I would have flipped that. Maybe I would look back at my life and be like, man, I should have generalized. I should have studied everything. But since I look at the other way, I go, I played that wrong. And that's just in one area, right? Like, I've lied, I've cheated, I've stolen, I've done all the bad. I mean, there's actually a lot of stuff that I haven't done. And in that sense, I even regret that. I've never tasted beer. I can even regret the fact that I've deprived myself of an experience that many other people have enjoyed in their life, right? Other people who have had too many beers might look at me and be like, wow, I wish I had never done that, right? There's probably not a right answer to this question. But I absolutely have played my cards wrong. And I hope what I'm trying to get across there is, if you think you played your cards right, then you've probably learned nothing in the process. Pass.
I can't imagine. Right?
Every time I hit the button.
I can't imagine just going through life. I have this like caricature inside my head. This person who's like, 27 years old, 28 years old, maybe because that's how old I am. So let's move it to 21. So it'll create a little bit of distance. And they graduated from a good school. They're maybe married. They met a person inside of their significant other inside of college. This individual's name I'm gonna go with Caleb, and Caleb has frosty tips. His dad works in banking, and he just he gets to the point where he's like, dude, fucking rad. I work for my dad in banking, and this is just like, it's been perfect so far. But imagine that doesn't exist forever. Like, there's surely, right? But even then, like, there's lessons to be learned throughout that time. But there's people that don't understand that the lessons have been learned. Maybe their behavior is different. They just don't really want to. They haven't internalized it. But this person that finally, I don't know, I would imagine that maybe you turn 40 and you have this like massive like hit, like you get divorced or what, your kid dies or like some tragic thing happens. Unfortunately, a lot of things it's because of a tragic event. Like you get jerked in the opposite direction, like, holy shit, what did I do with my life? But I hope that happens. I can't imagine like being 80 years old and just being like, it's been perfect. I've played every card correctly. Like, that's just, it seems like a weird way to think. I also have this alcoholic free beer. If you want to taste what beer tastes like.
I really don't.
Cool.
Yeah. I see, even with the cards I've got, I'm still playing them the same way I've played them forever. But yeah.
Would you consider yourself more of a specialist now?
No. I've been a specialist in a few areas. Like, I am a specialist in podcasting right now. Previous to this, I was a specialist in technology, and previous to that, I was a specialist in magic. But what's amazing is, like, there was a point where I was like really good. Like, I look back and I'm like, I was in the top of my game and in a worldwide spectrum, like very, very solid at it. And only a few years of like, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to study that. And people will talk to me about it. And I'm like, I've never heard of that. I don't know that technology. I don't know that prop. I don't know. And it's amazing how fast you can go from being one of the best, like a world authority, to being completely lost among people that were your peers, that like respected you. And now you're like, I don't know who these people are. These new up and coming guys. I know none of it, but I'm totally okay with that. I don't miss that, because I was a big fish in a very small pond on all of those. And I'm a big fish in a very small pond right now. Like, podcasting is a tiny, tiny world.
You think so?
Yeah. There's only like, can you name 15 big fish in podcasting?
Tom Segura, Christina Pajitsky. They run a podcast together, so I'm going to say one. All right. Bert Kreischer.
Okay.
Bobby Lee.
Okay.
Joe.
Okay.
Bad friend. Andrew Santino.
Okay. So are we listing off great podcasters or great comedians? Because so far, okay, Huberman's different. Huberman's the first that is not a stand-up comic.
It's because those are the people I listen to, so that's where my brain automatically goes. What was that other guy's name that like sets up an entire like location wherever he goes?
Fish number 8.
Yeah.
Big fish number 8.
Uh-huh.
It's hard, right?
Sean.
Okay. He means Sean Kelly for those listening.
Yeah, Sean Kelly. Digital Social Hour. He records here. Jake?
Getting there. He's in the top 5%.
Okay.
Anyways, point being is like,
it's not easy.
It's not a lot. Yeah. There's not a lot of big guys out there. Levels to the game. You know, there's probably a lot of black belts, but like if you know martial arts, you could probably list off 10 black belts while there's thousands of them worldwide.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan. That's like the only name that I know.
Oh. Gordon Ryan's dope.
Gordon Ryan.
We've had him here twice.
He lost a lot of weight recently. I saw a photo of him. Like he got sick, I guess.
He was on like, a lot of creatine.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Creatine. Take your creatine. Get like Gordon Ryan.
That guy injected a lot of creatine.
Do you watch sports?
No, I'm not a sports guy.
Not at all.
No. Yeah.
You have a lot of people that come here that I would imagine are in that kind of a like space, right? Like
Yeah.
You work with a lot of like celebrity people, if you will, right? Like not always, but like yes. I don't know what I was going with that. Is it interesting to work with these people? I guess.
I mean, I don't. So I like we have. It depends on the sport. Like I'm more interested in fight sports, in combat sports, because I feel like there's some level of authenticity within that game that is not matched. Like if we're talking about chess, right, or football or something like that, there's something that disconnects it from what sports is really about, which is I think war, right? Like it's all we're trying to do is root for a team that's an army that's going to go kill that one. And so I think when you just take that away and be like, actually, all we've been rooting for is who can beat up whose dad, when that's all it is, then like, oh, I get it. And then you're like, okay, Gordon Ryan, best jiu-jitsu guy in the world. Like, cool. Or Jake Shields, who's just a monster. And it's also awesome because like they are the opposite of what they do. Like if you have like the world's largest dog, nobody picks on the dog, so the dog's actually really gentle. And so these fighters are like really nice people because getting on a microphone or anything that would normally stress somebody out, like their stressful day is a trained murderer is going to be locked in a cage with them who wants to kill them, right? Like, and then they're like, "Oh, be on a microphone? Okay." Like,
pretty casual.
Oh,
Hey.
I've got a bill that is really expensive to pay. Like, who cares? That doesn't matter at all. So their like levels of stress are just at totally different levels than the average human being. They've been exposed to stuff that the rest of us haven't. So I don't know. I like those guys, but like if you asked me to name like 5 active football players, I couldn't do it. They'd all sound like comedians.
I'm a comedian kind of guy. It's hard for me to even. Yeah, I mean, like current football player, I have no idea. I saw Pac-Man Jones recently on a podcast. That was cool.
Who's Pac-Man Jones?
He played for Dallas Cowboys, I think.
Gotcha. He could have just as likely been like a rap star. I would have been totally.
It sounds like a rap name.
Yeah.
He does have a studio in the houses apparently.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then Tony Romo.
Doesn't he make steaks?
Tony Roma's.
Tony Roma's.
Who? I wonder who that is.
Tony Roma's the steaks guy?
Jamie, bring it up.
Yeah.
One day. I think it'd be fun. Would you ever have a Jamie in here?
It's a service we offer.
Really?
Yeah. We offer like a real-time researcher.
I imagine it's a fucking hard job.
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand like how difficult to like, hey, look that up, and then just like.
I think it's a way more annoying job than people think it is because like they've got to be looking up everything all the time, whether you ask them for it or not, because they've got to have a head start. And so it's like it's super obnoxious as a job. Because imagine you're doing all this work and they don't ask you to say anything about it. So if your job is to be the fact checker, it's like, well, they never asked me to pull that up, but I've been pulling it up the whole time. The whole time I'm researching.
Fuck,
it sucks.
Dude. I didn't realize that's how it worked. I thought it was like, hey, can you look that up? And then you're just like looking it up.
I mean, you can do it that way, which is what most people do. Like if they've got a producer that is supposed to be looking stuff up, that guy will just look at, and then they've got to stall. But if you want it up fast, they've got to be writing it pretty much as you're oh, they started talking about football players. Okay, I'm going to bring up the top 50 football players. Oh, they started talking about comedians. Let's bring up all of those. Top podcasts, bring up all of those, like as they're doing it.
Damn.
And then opening new tabs in case, like, what happens if we go back to the previous subject? We got to be ready. Hard job, not fun.
God damn. Do you do that?
We bring somebody in that. So yeah, there's a couple extra jobs that we offer as upsells that I never tell anybody about, but one of them is a researcher. So if there's a person that comes in and is like, I want somebody to be able to bring it up like on the fly, that's one of the options. Another one is somebody that will literally take notes during the podcast. And so if somebody says something that they think is particularly viral, they'll mark it and timestamp it, and so like you could then go and find the clips really easy. If you've got your own editing team, it saves a ton of time. It's really, really powerful. Yeah. And then you can get continuity experts depending on what the show is. So like, let's say you were doing a movie and and then for a scene you came in and did a podcast or whatnot, you might need to have certain continuity points within that where it makes sense one thing's going to another. So we could bring a person in that will literally be like, no, your ring was on your right hand on your ring finger, and now it's on your pinky finger on your left. And they'll correct that. So they're looking at everything to make sure it all lines up.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What kind of fucking job is that? That's
hard job.
Insane. This industry seems insane.
I mean, no,
like you're a
I don't book all that. That's very rare. Those are just things we offer, but we don't book them very often.
You're definitely a specialist in this space.
Definitely. I wrote 3 books. They're available on Amazon.
Go get them.
Buy books about podcasting.
So what are the 3 books?
The 3 books are it's building a podcast studio, growing your podcast, which is so building a podcast studio is all about microphones, mixers, building a set, soundproofing, lighting, lenses, quite literally like ground up equipment wise, which is really what it's tailored toward. But we go into a lot about what makes a good podcast versus a bad podcast, because you could have the best equipment in the world, and if you don't know what you're doing or you deliver it poorly, your audience will still leave you. So that's what the first book is on building your podcast. Second one is on growing your podcast, which is more of a marketing book, and it covers it basically covers, here's a bunch of free strategies for growing your audience. Here's a bunch of paid strategies for growing your audience. And there's drawbacks and benefits to both. And then the third book is on monetizing your podcast. And so that's a bunch of different strategies on how to make money. And it's broken up into selling your own stuff, selling somebody else's stuff, and then weird income streams that most people have never considered doing. Although a few do, because that's how people make money.
So. How fun.
Yep.
I think if I would have started, I did start several years ago, having that information would have been really fucking helpful. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and there's really not a lot of content on YouTube. Like, there is a lot of content, but like, I didn't really know, okay, how does this apply really like to what's going on like in my immediate situation? I bought the good mics, great, but I didn't know that I had to buy like this specific mixer, even though like they talked about. I probably could have found it, but it's like very disjointed. So having it all in one spot, it's really, really helpful, because it was a fucking bitch getting started.
Yeah, it sucks. It can suck, and then you can save either money or time depending on which one you have more of. But also like those strategies, like a year ago, the monetization strategies were totally different. There was like 3 ways to monetize a year ago, and now there's like 50. And a year ago that we had, I wouldn't say junk. Actually, we had these mics a year ago. So we've been using the same mics. These are still industry standard mics, SM7Bs. But a lot of other things, a lot of technologies have changed. A lot of really the marketing and the monetizing are the 2 big ones. And who knows, maybe in like 3 months, the books will be outdated, because like right now they've got bleeding edge stuff. I was writing them and somebody would tell me a new thing and I'd be like, oh man, like now I got to put another chapter in. I didn't even think about that as a thing. And there's one new marketing thing that I just learned that is not in the book. And it's, bleeding. So, the next revision of it will have that in there, but it changes all the time. I'm really lucky because I'm at the ground floor, right? Yeah. So I get, when people walk through the door here, oh, I'm on the wrong camera for a long time. Sorry. But when people walk through the door here, they tell me what they're doing and their strategies. And so I get to learn so many things. And this happened at Apple too. This happened when I was working in tech. When people had a problem, they'd come to me with their problem. I might not know the answer, but in figuring out the solution, I have now put myself in a place where I know a little bit more than everybody else. And then that compounds over time. And I'm sure that happens in your industry too, where you see a problem, whether that's motivational or physiological or whatever the case may be. And in finding the solution for that one person, you may have solved that problem for the next 20 people that you're going to encounter with it. It's just a matter of are you willing to be the person who has to deal with all the problems?
Yes. And it kind of sounds like you've also have made that choice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to finding the next books. I'm gonna buy the 3. I'm gonna find you. I'll support you. I appreciate what you do.
I'll have the books in the lobby.
Oh.
As soon as they get here.
Should I buy them either way?
It's gonna be early February before I get my physical my hands on the physical copies, which I'm excited about the physical copies.
That's pretty fucking cool. Can I just give you $100? Can I donate?
No.
Can I donate to the fund?
Nah.
Come on.
Nah, keep your money.
I gotta bring some. I have the very poles ready to bring, and I just haven't brought them. This is probably too far deep, but we can end out. I'll tell you about the very poles. I have very poles for you. Sorry,
This podcast was brought to you by Shutters.
Yes, this podcast was brought to you by Shutters. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I love y'all. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.